Good morning. It's time for announcements. A couple of announcements here about hours, and office hours and library hours. The office will be closed Monday and Tuesday for the holidays, and it'll be open Wednesday through Friday at its regular hours, 10 to 1. The library will be closed on Tuesday in observance of the 4th, but will be open on Thursday in its usual hours, 1 to 3. There's a community roundup for congregational leaders that's on Zoom Thursday the 6th at 7 o'clock. You're ready, you can join that if you like, join the conversation. It's always interesting. And the Moon Sisters are meeting Friday on the 7th at 7 p.m. in the library. And Janet Martinique wanted us to mention that the Eating Out group is going to be at the Cattle Barn on July 21st. That's a kind of advance announcement. And our annual church campout is the 21st through the 23rd. And there are some directions in the lobby, I believe. And James Bassler always has a setup by the RE building, so you can check that out. And I have one more announcement. We would like to move the bike rack, which is currently sitting outside the RE building. We'd like to move it to its pad next to the new pavement, or I should say on the new pavement, under the tree. So if you feel like lifting a little bit, we need some husky people right after the service. I would say probably 8 of us could do it, and we just carry the thing over and set it in place. And Bill Fitzgerald tells me that he will nail it down, or fasten it anyway, to the ground this afternoon, okay? So keep that in mind. Any other announcements? All right, our service will start shortly.
Please rise as you are willing and able, body and spirit, body or spirit, to sing "This Land Is Your Land." This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the green water. This land was made for you and me, as I
when the sun came shining, and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. My voice was coming, and a log was lifting. This land was made with me. This land was made with me. There was a log was lifting.
Someone said to me this morning, this is a song of our age. And I thought, no, it's a song for all ages. I remember hearing a fan of Woody Guthrie's, a fellow who was interpreting him after Guthrie was gone, and he said, you know, this is one of the old-time songs. And we're all going, no, it's not an old-time song. It's a contemporary song. Anyway, I think Woody wrote this in about 1940. It may have been a little earlier, but he was a very prolific songwriter, you know, and just churned them out. Anyway, I really love that, and I love the interpretations that people give to it. Anyway, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you who are in our sanctuary this morning, and also those who are following on streaming technology. I'm Charlie Scholz, your service associate. Our service leader is Haney Pearson. He gave himself a cheer there. I thought that's self-referential. I don't know. Okay. Our music leader this morning is Kathy Cox, and she's joined by a small choir sitting up there in the choir loft. You'll hear them all later. Our director of religious education is Kelly Ingram. Assisting us are Elwin Nunn on camera, Claire Wallace on audio, and Mike Yasko on streaming technology. And our greeters, as you probably noticed from your order of service, are Lisa Peterson, Jane Ash, and Judy Licht. And hospitality is offered today by the Seekers Covenant Group. And I'm not sure we're going to be outside today. Generally, we try to be outside on a nice day like this. But for the last couple of weeks, we've been indoors in the RE building, which, by the way, is down the passageway on the side. Anyway, you'll find out when you get there. Okay, we're delighted to be here with you. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all its forms, and everyone is welcome here. You can learn more about our church at our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting today, we'd like to meet you. If you're in the sanctuary, please rise in body or spirit and introduce yourself by telling us your name and where you're from, but wait until I bring the microphone to you. Do we have any visitors this morning? There's a visitor. Hold on. Are we on? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Audrey Fraser. I'm visiting from New Hampshire. I'm visiting my dear friend Betty, who we both attended the Unitarian Church in Milford, New Hampshire. So,
Welcome. Someone else. I see someone over there. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is my husband Bill, and our daughter Rowan, and our son Graham, and we live here, and we are visiting for the first time.
Wonderful. Glad you're here. Okay. Anyone else? All righty. So please join us after the service for coffee and conversation. As I said, it'll be down the passageway, either outside the RE building or inside the RE building if we feel it's too hot outside. I've noticed, though, some people are getting their sun by sitting out there, so good for you. All righty. Senor?
Opening words were written by Langston Hughes, one of the earliest innovators of the literary art form called jazz poetry. Now, the last time I used this poem, Roy, king of punk Canadian, Vanderaa, told me that was really punk. I will try to avoid that. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man, full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream, beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turn that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those airless seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Yeah. This morning's chalice lighting. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our church's affirmation of covenant. The words are on the screen. And then join Kathy Cox as she leads us in singing the doxology in English and Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant
Below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue. De todos bajo el gran sol surja esperanza, fe, amor, verdad, belleza en la canción de cada tierra, cada voz.
Good morning, church. Happy first day of July. First Sunday of July. You know, I should have known it was the second. My child was born today. Red, white, black, and blue. It was supposed to mean equality. It is meant to be the red, white, and blue's main policy. So why is it I feel like a minority? Give me liberty or give me death, they screamed to their last breath. Wars were waged and people were enraged. All for what? For my people to be enslaved? All men were created equal, yet we were possessions. We were looked down upon and forced into oppression. We could not understand the reason for our suppression, but we rise out of every transgression. If only you could see their facial expressions. For all those wars and battles, movements and walks, slowly the success of our people became a new obsession. And since the only way from here was up, we continued with our progression. We made it our patriotic duty to make the fathers of our country proud of our community. For America is our land, a place for us to mark our brand. Thank you.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way.
One of the ways we support each other in community is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. In these challenging times, it is crucial that we make attempts to stay connected to one another. And I hear some chatter in the background. I think these are kibitzers who are saying, I'm jumping ahead. So let's go back to the opening hymn, number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. Would you rise and join us?
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
And as a gentle, loving people, we share joys, sorrows, and milestones. If you have a joy, a sorrow, or a milestone that you'd like to share with us this morning, please raise your hand. I'll bring the mic to you, and we'll do that. And I see one in the back.
I have a sorrow and joy mixed. Many of you know my father's been in hospice back in New York, and he passed last night with a smile on his face, surrounded by friends and family.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Robert. I have a sorrow and a joy related. I was educated originally as a physicist, and so I came to greatly admire Sir Isaac Newton for his many achievements, possibly the greatest natural scientist that ever lived. My sorrow is that his wonderful theory of gravity, I've had to a couple of falls have made me realize that gravity is no longer my friend. Gravity is my enemy. The joy is that there was a worse theory of gravity before Newton, and that was Aristotle's view that if I drop a stone, why does it fall to the earth? Because that's its natural place. That's where it belongs. And the stone knows that somehow. It's bad enough at my age taking a fall, but I would hate to be lying on the floor, perhaps with a broken bone, and believing this is my place. This is where I belong.
Well, I'm glad you saw the gravity of the situation.
Hi, I'm Jean Gilbert, and some of you know that I reconnected with the guy I dated in high school last September. It was our 55th class reunion, and my joy is that he's coming here to visit, and he arrives on Thursday.
Someone else. Yes.
I'm Chris Northcutt, and I am really going to move sometime this summer, but I close on my studio house property on Friday, and I was so glad to get rid of it.
Congratulations. Very good. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I read in the newspaper that Elian Gonzalez, remember the 5-year-old kid found in the sea, has been elected to the People's Assembly. That's Cuba's Congress. And he said he just wants to do good for the people. I don't know if being here just a few days had him thinking about some sort of democracy or what.
Thank you, Haney. I'm going to light this extra candle for the joys and sorrows expressed today and for those that you hold in your hearts. We all hold hopes and dreams, wounds and worries in our hearts. Remembering this, let us treat one another with patience and love.
This morning's prayer was written by Sarah Eileen Lawal, seeking that which unites us. Spirit of life and love, in this time of uncertainty, of fear and angst, our nation holds its collective breath. In this time when rhetoric blusters about and words are used as weapons, our nation clenches its fist, tightens its shoulders, and eyes squeezed shut. Some are preparing for a fight. May we remember we are a people of resilience. We have faced uncertainty before. We have weathered storms. We have been consumed by flames. We have risen like the phoenix from the ashes, and we will again. We, the people. May we remember our shared humanity, our universal kinship, our interdependence as we unclench our fist and breathe together, breathing in love and breathing out peace. May we recognize the spark of the divine inside all of us, even those we are not quite sure about. In this time of uncertainty, we remember the good will go on as we work to move forward together. We, the people, seeking that which unites us with our arms reaching out wide for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May love prevail. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen.
Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop.
The Sunday Services Committee began talking about potential services for today while Reverend Gary Kowalski was still around. I noted its proximity to Independence Day, and Gary suggested the title, Why Celebrate the 4th of July? And said he would send me his sermon with that title to use as I saw fit. Now, that was a nice gesture. His sermon is based upon Frederick Douglass's fiery 1852 speech, What to the Slave is the 4th of July? As a man born into bondage on Maryland's Eastern Shore, Douglas found the festivities galling. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty and unholy license, your national greatness, swelling vanity, your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. And then he says, these many years later, the question still resonates. Why celebrate? Gary goes on to ask several more questions. Why fly the stars and stripes? Should Americans be proud or ashamed of a revolution that left millions in chains, that required another civil law to abolish slavery and then many more lifetimes of sacrifice to bring us to the point where people still have to protest to win their basic dignity? He builds a strong case, but I don't really connect with an 1852 speech on an abolished institution. We face an entirely different set of problems today, and that is why I was drawn to the imagery of Reverend James H. Cone's book titled, The Cross and the Lynching Tree. Incidentally, Lady Day, or Billie Holiday, sold a lot of records with the anti-lynching song Strange Fruit, but it caused her a whole lot of problems also. Abel Meeropol, its composer, taught high school for 17 years, wrote a number of other poems, adopted Julius and Ethel Rosenberg's children, and later lived an undisturbed life without problems from the Department of Justice. The super summary study guide for Cone's book begins with James Cone's theological work entitled The Cross and the Lynching Tree, is the result of almost 50 years of theological reflection on the intersection of religion, race, and culture, and is thus considered to be one of his most mature and developed works. A Methodist minister and seminary professor, Cone was one of America's most unique and qualified voices on race and theology. In this work, Cone draws a direct link between the symbolism of the lynching tree in America's troubled history of racist violence and the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, an innocent victim tortured and put to death by being hung from a tree. Before I went any further, I had to find out more about the man. Reverend Cone was born on August 5, 1938, in Fordyce, Arkansas, and grew up in Bearden, Arkansas, where his family attended Macedonia African Methodist Episcopal Church. He attended the two-year shorter college and graduated from Philander Smith College in 1958, where he was mentored by the Reverend Doctors James and Alice Boyack. In Said I Wasn't Going to Tell Nobody, a 2018 memoir published the same year he died, Cone wrote that the Boyacks were the first whites he met who respected his humanity. It was their advice that led him to obtain a Bachelor of Divinity degree from Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary and Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy degrees from Northwestern University. He was shocked to learn that most Northern whites would not treat him with the respect like the Boyacks. Yet he was excited to learn of unfamiliar theologians, controversies, and biblical study methodologies. At the urging of and with the support from the white Canadian theologian William Horden at Garrett, he applied and gained acceptance into the doctoral program in theology. Like most of us, he looked at what was being taught to him through the lens of his personal experiences. As a black man who grew up in the Bible Belt during that time of an emerging civil rights movement, a tumultuous time in our country's history, it was also during this time that he developed doubts that he sought answers to in Scripture and frankly came up empty. And so he was a man of contradictions. His doctoral thesis was The Doctrine of Man in the Theology of Karl Barth. Yet he also wrote, what could Karl Barth possibly mean for black students who had come from the cotton fields of Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, seeking to change the structure of their lives in a society that defined black as non-being? He was a devout Christian and a bit of a racist, as he clearly distinguished between the black church that, quote, gives black people a sense of worth, and the white church on the grounds that it was a willing part of the system that had oppressed black people. His theology was heavily influenced by Malcolm X and the Black Power movement. But he thought the time had come for black theologians and black church people to move beyond a mere reaction to white racism in America and begin to extend their vision of a new socially constructed humanity in the whole inhabited world. For humanity is whole and cannot be isolated into racial and national groups. Despite his contradictions, or maybe because of his contradictions, Cone was held in very high esteem as a theologian. His award-winning book, The Cross and the Lynching Tree, has a number of stories, but the point he makes is that Jesus was lynched. Actually, not only did the book win the Grawemeyer Award in Religion, but the review by the Reverend Dr. Mel White was awarded first place by the Los Angeles Press Club in their National Entertainment Journalism Award, Critic Online 2018. White's review stated that Cone writes on the behalf of all those whom the Salvadoran theologian and martyr Ignacio Ellacuria, I think I got it right, called the crucified peoples of the world. He writes for the forgotten and abused, the marginalized and the despised. He writes for those who are penniless, jobless, and without political or social power. He writes for gays, lesbians, bisexual, and those who are transgender. He writes for undocumented farm workers toiling in misery in the nation's agricultural fields. He writes for Muslims who live under the terror of war and empire in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he writes for us. He understands that until white America can see the cross and the lynching tree together, quote, until we can identify Christ as a re-crucified black body hanging from a lynching tree, there can be no genuine understanding of Christian identity in America and no deliverance from the brutal legacy of slavery and white supremacy, unquote. Cone also included a reprint of a radio dialogue between Reinhold Niebuhr and James Baldwin that took place after the September 1963 bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, that killed 4 girls. Niebuhr, who spoke in the language of moderation that infuriated Baldwin, Niebuhr was disarmed by Baldwin's eloquence and fire. Baldwin, who happened to have been a student of Abel Meeropol, the guy who wrote Strange Fruit, said, the only people in this country at the moment who believe in either in Christianity or in the country are the most despised minority in it. It is ironical, the people who were slaves here, the most beaten and despised people here, should be at this moment the only hope this country has. It doesn't have any other. None of the descendants of Europe seem to be able to do or have taken it on themselves to do what Negroes are now trying to do. And this is not a chauvinistic or racial outlook. It probably has something to do with the nature of life itself. It forces you in any extremity, any extreme, to discover what you really live by. Whereas most Americans have been so long, so safe, and so sleepy that they don't any longer have any real sense of what they live by. I really think they think it may be Coca-Cola. Now, James Baldwin was well respected for his writing in several different forms, essays, novels, plays, and poems, but he seemed to be a master of turning personal questions and dilemmas into great books with complex social and psychological meanings. He used themes of masculinity, sexuality, race, and class against the backdrop of political movements like civil rights, gay liberation, from the 50s on to 1985 when his last book was published. Mr. Baldwin was a man of words and could sit and banter with the noted theologian. But Doc Rivers, retired professional basketballer and currently an out-of-work basketball coach, said it a lot briefer after one particular heinous attack. We keep loving this country, and it just won't love us back. It all comes down to the lynching in one form or another. Tuskegee University started keeping track of lynchings through newspaper clippings, and now multiple organizations track lynchings with slightly different numbers. The NAACP's records show that from 1882 to 1968, 4,743 lynchings occurred in the United States. But it is impossible to know for certain how many lynchings occurred because there's no form of tracking, and frankly, people try to hide that stuff. The highest number of recorded lynchings during that time period occurred in Mississippi with 581. Georgia was second with 531, and Texas was third with 493. The Bible Belt is not an official term and is therefore not clearly defined, but for this service, I am setting the northern border as Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri. Then you go from Virginia down through Florida, south, and then west through Texas and Oklahoma. Now, Tuskegee Institute had a lynching total of 4,742 for the same period that the NAACP had counted, and the Bible Belt, as I just defined, accounted for 4,018 lynchings. And yet only this one man made the connection between the cross and the lynching tree. Maybe because they seem to have stopped counting lynchings in 1968, the year of the assassinations. From there, this country has moved rapidly into mass murders and mass shootings, just plain hate. Reverend Kowalski not only started his service with a quote from Frederick Douglas, he used another quote to try and add a little good news. Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men, too, great enough to give frame to a great age. It does not often happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of truly great men. The point from which I am compelled to view them is not certainly the most favorable, and yet I cannot contemplate their great deeds with less than admiration. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes, and for the good they did and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory. I do not despair of this country. Now, it does not happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of truly great men. That phrase stuck with me. And as we approach the semi-quincentennial in 2026, we should not be surprised that the complete opposite has occurred. We cannot help but notice the number of politicians who refuse to condemn total anti-American illegal behaviors. It would seem that the Founding Fathers were wrong in their optimism that with knowledge and education, people would continue to improve. Norman Cousins wrote, and I quote, "The letters the Founding Fathers wrote to each other reflected the rounded view of life and a sensitivity to the needs and potentialities of human beings. There is a concern here for the growing universe of knowledge and the possibilities of progress," unquote. Jefferson biographer Willard Stern Randall wrote, and I quote, "All his life, Jefferson believed unshakably that mankind was advancing steadily, that education and scientific progress would eliminate social ills," unquote. They were wrong. H.L. Mencken wrote in the Baltimore Evening Sun on July 26, 1920, and I quote, "As democracy is perfected, the office of the president represents more and more closely the inner soul of the people. We move toward a lofty ideal. On some great and glorious day, the plain folks of the land will reach their heart's desire at last, and the White House will be adorned by a downright moron," unquote. He was closer to being right than the forefathers. Reverend Cohn's The Cross and the Lynching Tree included a quote from the legendary bluesman Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson is the one that legend says went down to the crossroads and made a deal with the devil so that he could be a great guitar player. And he died quite young. I got to keep moving. I got to keep moving. Blues falling down like hail, and the day keeps on worrying me. There's a hellhound on my trail. Sometimes after the news, after we have read the newspaper, after we have listened to, yeah, you know what I mean. Luckily, there are organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the American Civil Liberties Union, our own Unitarian Universalist Association. This congregation is filled with members of at least a dozen organizations out there doing the work. I don't need to tell you what to do. You are doing it, and I thank you. Last week, our youngest child spoke on hope in society. I would just like to add a bit from Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd. Just because we are honest does not mean we cannot be hopeful. Hope, after all, is not just another version of optimism. Optimism tells a preordained narrative. It is an assertion that the scales have already tipped toward triumph. Optimism is always busy absolving somebody. Hope is different. Like faith, hope is the exact opposite of certainty. It does not presume an outcome for good or for ill. It lies in the waiting moment when the tug from both directions is not fully resolved, and when a great many things are still possible. It moves in the humble spaces that open when we allow ourselves to be uncertain and thus not fully self-contained. It is the possibility, though not the inevitability, of a better way.
Recently, I was struck by the poem "We Are Not Done" by Audette Fulbright Fulson. It was in our April 2020 worship resource material. It started like this: "Do not think we are finished. Oh no, we will never be finished, never just done until the light of justice is lit behind every eye." This is why I continue to give to this church. Yes, and any number of you can go and fight your battles against injustice as individuals, but it is far more effective to do this as an organization. And this little church has standing in this city, this county, and this state. Now, in a moment, the greeters will come forward with the baskets and will ask you to give generously. But before they do that, I would remind you that we support organizations identified by our Social Justice Committee with what we call our Change for Change program. This quarter's recipient for Change for Change is the Children's Reading Alliance. Their mission is to engage families and the community to promote children's literacy. Our donations to the CRA will primarily be used to purchase books and support efforts to get them into the hands of families. You can give to this CRA by putting Change for Change, your change in the basket, or writing Change for Change on the note line of your check. Please give generously.
One more blue
Our closing hymn is number 156, "Oh Freedom." Basses, bring it. This quote from Nigerian novelist, short story writer, and MacArthur Genius Grant recipient, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, from the New Yorker, December 2nd, 2016, is still relevant. Quote, "Now is the time to resist the slightest extension in the boundaries of what is right and just. Now is the time to speak up and to wear as a badge of honor the opprobrium of bigots. Now is the time to confront the weak core at the heart of America's addiction to optimism. It allows too little room for resilience and too much for fragility." That was the statement of a fully committed young woman, to wit, Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd, wrote in the 2019 spring edition of the UU World. She then preached a sermon about how nothing we do will be perfect and closed with, and I quote, "We are going to stay in it even when it's hard, for as long as we can, to the extent that our hearts can bear. We are going to stay in it together," unquote. She preaches some version of those words repeatedly, not just to her congregation and to its leaders, but to herself. There are times when the work can be draining, when one is confused, and even though you know that it will never be perfect, those words help her to keep going.
Will you join me in saying the words to extinguish the flame? we extinguish this flame. The warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We walk to the back.
We are back at ringside in the New Orleans Superdome. Ray Charles about to sing America the Beautiful. In the background, his namesake, Ray Charles Leonard. Rendition didn't touch you, didn't move you, didn't cause a chill along your spine, I don't suppose anything could. What a remarkable man, what a remarkable performer. And now, as the crowd gives him a deserved ovation, he wanders toward his namesake, Ray Charles Leonard. And Leonard, who was very tense in the hours earlier, now seems oddly poised and confident. We'll be back with the start of the fight in a moment.